Namaste. Welcome to the Conscious Convo podcast. I am your host and teacher, Pippa Leslie. I'm here to share everything I learn, see, and channel. This podcast is for the conscious and curious beings who are ready to dive deeper into spirituality. I am so grateful you are here. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm really excited today because I'm talking to a lovely lady who is in New Zealand, and I've connected with her recently. Her name is Choiwee Moon, which is a beautiful name, and I'm excited to talk to her today because I resonate with her from when I found her online, and I just feel like what we do in this world is beautiful, and I love what she does, and I wanted her to come on the podcast today to see where our topics would kind of flurry up to talk about, because there's so many things I think I could talk about, and I know you could talk about, Chow. So hi and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful. I'm literally like, what do I ask first? Apart from introducing yourself and your journey, I want to know about that. But in my head, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much stuff I could ask you. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff to talk about. There's so many questions. There's so many avenues. But first, please introduce yourself and what you do on this planet, what you do for others, and how you got into this work as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, that last part of that question is potent in itself. So yeah, my name is Choiwee. I'm based in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand. Foremost, I'm a Māmā. So I've got 3 beautiful children who are 11, 7, and 6. Who definitely have been my biggest personal development journey. I currently have a different avenues in terms of my work, but the basis of it is holistic wellness and trauma work, therapy work. So I have my own holistic wellness business. I am a Reiki practitioner. I also teach Reiki. I've been working with energy and supporting other people's journeys with energy for quite a few years now. And then I've allowed that to unfold. And so some of the one-on-one work that I do now is focused on pleasure. I support people through connection to their own pleasure. I have couples packages that I have in my business. So I support couples and their intimacy and their connection and their communication. I also am in youth preventative work. So I am a lead facilitator for a local organization where I work with 9 to 11-year-old girls, and we do preventative therapeutic work with girls that are medium to high risk. So they have to be able to function in a group and be in school, coming to school for us to support them. So unfortunately, obviously, we don't get to have the really high risk. Been doing that for a few years, and it is amazing. And I'm really passionate about prevention when it comes to things that impact us long-term negatively.
Yeah.
So I'm also in the foundational phase of creating a boys program, an initiation program with an amazing cohort of people locally and outside the Bay of Plenty, where we are aiming to make a difference to our suicide rates and our mental health, jail rates, all those kinds of things for our young boys and men. I also run regular retreats. I do a lot of co-creative spaces, which I love. I'm all about working for myself, and I love one-on-one work, and also I love working with other facilitators. So I run regular women's retreats near Rotorua over this way, and I also hold a lot of spaces with friends that are breathwork facilitators that do sound healing. We often hold group spaces. And finally, which is how we know each other, is I have a podcast. So I co-host a podcast with my ex-boyfriend from when I was 15. It's called Sex with My Ex, and it's all about sexual wellness, and it goes down so many different avenues. That can be for everyone. Like, people ask me, who should listen to your podcast? And I was like, everyone, because we've all missed out on adequate sexual education. And there are so many things that you can get from our combos and our guests. So that's what my life looks like now. However, it continues to unfold. So I don't even really know where it's going to take me.
That's the beauty of it, though, isn't it? It's like, we were talking about this on my group program where I'm in a group of women, and we were talking about how we're constantly evolving, and I'm constantly having to ask myself the question, is this the right thing that I'm doing? Should I train another modality? Should I carry on doing what I'm doing? Should I just kind of add to the toolbox? And I think I have to ask myself, is it coming from a place of evolution or is it coming from a place of lack? Like, I feel like I need to do that because I'm missing out or things like that. And I'm at the moment, I'm really sitting with what it is that I really am called to do. And it's been the niggling little voice and it makes me emotional to talk about it because the last few weeks it's been really prominent. Like, it's coming up a lot. It's the niggling voice that I need to help women with their sexuality, that needs to help women just connect to themselves, the self-awareness of how beautiful they are, how amazing they are. It's mums, as in, like, I've just done a podcast this morning about, being a stepmom. I was interviewed by a lady in Oregon, and I thought, I instantly put myself in a category. I'm only a stepmom. No, I'm actually a mother. I'm actually, even though I've not birthed these two beautiful stepsons that I've got, I love them so much. And they love me so much. And the story behind that, I know you know bits about it, Chow. It's like, Chris was separated from his kids, my husband, and all my audience know about this story. But, I was trying to communicate with them online on Zoom I was with Chris at the time when we were separated. But when I got here physically, I did categorize myself as I'm just a stepmom. But actually, that's what is happening, is we're just putting ourselves in these little boxes, aren't we? Of, I'm just a stepmom, I'm not a wife yet, I'm just a girlfriend, I'm just this, I'm just that. Or actually, you're a divine human being. Like, there's no other way around it. You are a divine human being, and warts and all. It's like, and I think that's what's been coming up as well, is owning our BS, because we aren't perfect and we do mess up and we can be lazy and we can be silly and we say stupid stuff and we're constantly learning. But when I've been talking and listening to you guys and other podcasts and other people, it's like, for women, people come to me all the time for sex advice. Like, it's just since being a kid, like a 16-year-old, and I was always the friend in the group that would turn the conversation sexual, because I was because I loved it so much. Like, and my friends would sit there and be like, and I was like, what?
They're like, how did you make that sexy? I'm like, I don't know. How do you do it?
And I'm just like, and then, like, we got to our early 20s and they would be asking me for advice, and I really enjoyed giving it. And you know how I feel in that, when people come to you for advice, I'm giddy about it. I'm giddy, and it makes me feel giddy. And I think from that perspective, it brings me joy and it brings me passion to see a woman then leave my house and be like, oh my God, I feel so good, and I feel more confident now, and I feel like I've moved through something, and I know you spoke about it on your podcast as well, Showers. There is trauma, isn't there, around sex. There's the abuse around sex. There's all this kind of stuff. I was sexually abused at 21. I was assaulted. I was a co-worker, and I suppressed it. I absolutely suppressed it. I remember my parents were doing sorting my old room out, and the police report was at the bottom of the pile, and I'd completely forgot about it. I was a co-worker and a guy assaulted me, and I just was so ashamed of it. I just pushed it to a side. I forgot about it. And when I saw the report, I was with Chris in the UK, and I remember just having to burn it. And I just said, I'm letting go of this now. And I thanked the man, and you led me down this path. But this happens everywhere. It happens everywhere. And I think, let's talk about the light side of it. You've been given these beautiful tools on your body that give you so much pleasure, so much joy, so much love, and we don't use them. Well, I do most days. But
a lot of people don't know.
I just want people, not people, but I want people to know, because this isn't about just women. This is about men too.
No,
men suppress themselves as well. Under all the layers of beliefs, of trauma, of everything, you are a divine human being, having this physical experience. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And to live life and not be in touch with yourself, to know what turns you on, to know what makes you feel good, to know what pleasures you, to know what makes you smile, what makes you feel loved, to go a whole lifetime not knowing that, it makes me so sad. So sad. And I want you to explain a little bit, Shao, about like your work in that field, because you must see it a lot more than me, because obviously I do a lot of hypnosis, which can lead down other paths, but you do a lot of sexual work, and it's, what are you seeing mostly with men and women?
Well, the thing that I wanted to say firstly, which has just come from something you've said, is that we aren't going somewhere that we haven't been before. I spent many years working with young children because my background is originally in the education sector, and babies are born knowing that they are worthy of love. Yeah. They are born knowing that they are beautiful. They are born knowing that we are meant to enjoy life, that we play and we laugh and we move, and then when we get older, when we're toddlers, when we have anger or frustrations, we stamp our feet and we move the energy through. We are actually born with all of the innate tools that we need in order to be in life and to experience life. If you've got children or you've seen children before, they marvel at flowers and the sunset, bugs.
Yeah, and the butterflies. Ooh.
Right, the butterflies. I mean, I'm like that now. And I wasn't for many decades, and then I found it again through the work that I've done for myself. However, what I love saying to people in that is we're just returning home to love. We're returning back to our natural state of worthiness, of bliss, of peace, of all of these things. And during life, majority of us have stories and beliefs that come from outside of us, whether it's from family, societal conditioning, generational trauma, the circumstances that we're born into socioeconomically, whatever those things are. And some of those stories are interwoven with a lie that we are not worthy of love, acceptance, abundance, any of these things. And so we come to this point, if we choose to step into the path of self-discovery, where all we're doing is pulling back those lies and shedding them. We're returning back to a place that we know. And especially when we're working with people who are sitting with trauma, whether it be sexual trauma or other trauma, it's really nice for us to remember that, right? It's a coming home. It's a remembering. And so when we look at things like sexual trauma, and there's a really important piece in this that we need to look at and blow up to really get a good perspective, is that we've seen things like the statistics for how often women are sexually assaulted, and send love to you sharing. Thank you for sharing vulnerably in this space and acknowledging the disassociation with it, and then coming to the point of compassionate peace and sending love. That's powerful as fuck. However, the other thing to look at is that the perpetrators are also wounded. There is wounding that has happened in order for someone, a person, whatever gender identifying, because all genders can sexually assault, there has been a wounding, an untended to pain and hurt that has led to somebody assaulting somebody else. And so we've got to keep blowing it up to get some perspective and go, how do we create systemic change? Because there's been massive systemic failure for so many different areas, but sexual trauma still seems to be the one that lots of people get icky about, and we still don't talk about, and there's still a lot of shame about. And one thing that we preach about in the podcast and in my work and other work that I do with my co-host of the podcast is we are, like you said, we're whole holistic beings, and we've started breaking down some of the stigma about mental health. Like, we're getting there. There's some changes, not enough. But then when I talk about our sexuality being a whole part of our holistic well-being as well, there's then this other layer of like, oh, well, let's not talk about that. I'm like, why? Everyone's doing it. The reason you're alive is because two people had sex. Like, come on.
I know.
And all of the research says the not talking about it is making it worse. Same thing with suicide, same thing with our mental health and illnesses and everything like that. The not talking about it is not helping. Yeah. And so one of the best things that we can do is to be having these conversations, to normalize the conversations around sexuality, exploration, abuse, trauma, like physical conditions and stuff that come into our sexuality, like all of these things, they need to be diluted. The shame needs to be diluted so we can do the first step. And I think a lot of society is still at that first step of even opening up the space for the conversations. And then we can do the other stuff. But that's like integral.
Yeah, and when you said about the perpetrators, they're wounded as well. It's like we're a judgmental society, aren't we? And that's letting go of the judgment. And we're so quick to point fingers. You did this and you did that. You should go to prison. You should do it. And it's just, the thing is, if you actually start looking at the person as a divine human being, and that they're on the path, think about the amazing quote out the Bible, forgive them for they know not what they do. That's a big one for me, is that they're doing what they know how to do under the conditions of their own life. That's what Wayne Dyer spoke about. I always look up because he's on my wall. They literally are doing what they've been trained to do. They have their own trauma. They have their own layers of conditioning. They've had beliefs chosen for them, as we all have had growing up. But to be able to see that guy in light now, and I forgave him, and I burned the police report. It was very freeing for me. And the issue is, Chow, and you'll agree with this, is that we want to stay in that victim mode. A lot of us, don't we? We want to stay in that poor me. Oh, how did it happen to me? It's all me. It's always me. Everything happens to me. It's the victim mode is such a really dark, heavy place to be. But to know and to choose the fact that you chose this life, you chose these opportunities. Now, there's something that I was challenged. Well, I won't say challenged, actually, because even Neil changed that word. He said, let me give you an opportunity to have an opinion, because I'm very much open. I have a mind open to everything and try attach to nothing. He said, let me try and give you, help you have an opinion. And he was talking about like seeing these, seeing everything is divine and everything is this. And I just sat there and I remember listening to what he said. And I just was like, you know what? He's so right. And he kind of undid a few things that I thought. He said, we didn't come here to learn. We came here to experience. And I was like, there's a big difference there, isn't there? Because he said, you're going to keep learning and learn. When does the learning stop? So now you look at Dolores Cannon, who I'm trained under. She talks about, you come here to learn. Earth is a school. Now, part of me believes that. But then part of me really believes what Neil says about, we just came here to experience being a human. As in a past life, we might have experienced being a different form, a different planet, a different universe, a different, So it just how he described it. If you were listening, go back a few episodes to Neil's. Honestly, 3 minutes towards the end, he said, "Let me help you form an opinion, Pip." And I was like, "Okay." And I sat here, and it was 3 minutes, and I had tears in my eyes. How he articulated it with his words, he speaks directly to my soul, and it just got me thinking even more about people and how open we need to be. And like, still now we can't fully be open because of jobs and careers and exes and mums and dads and family, and it's just, there's so much, isn't there? There's just like, to be who you are, whatever that looks like,
authentic expressions. And it seems to still be a block right in the space of sexuality.
Especially like when it comes to being open. Like, I was so open as a teenager. So with my friends, I would, openly, happily talk about what I like sexually. And they're, oh my God, don't talk about that. Ooh. And I was like, why? Why would you not want to talk about it?
Why is it not like talking about your favorite breakfast?
Yeah. Again, it's this
well, there's a lot of reasons why when we start to look back in culture, because sexual oppression has been intentional. And if anybody thinks otherwise, then there's a whole lot of history lessons to show us that.
Well, if you go back to,
has been an intentional control technique.
Well, Chris, my husband's very much into ancient history, and so am I. And I always search ancient history. Watch a Netflix series on like ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. They were all at it. They were all open, naked in bathrooms. Swapping, just whatever. So that's kind of like, for other people who are interested in that. But I'm just talking about all these different things that they did. Like, sex was huge for them. And obviously, as religion came in and as everything changed, it was seen as a sin. It was seen as just a birthing thing. It wasn't seen as, it was just like made to be a chore, made to be something you just do to create a baby. Now, this was interesting. We spoke about this before we press record, and I really want to bring it up. For mums out there, I know, Chow, you're an actual mum. You've birthed children. I'm a stepmom, which is still a mum. I need to make that clear. Still a mum. How you go from, this, again, sacrificing of, I'm a mum now, I don't have time to have sex, I don't have time to be intimate, I don't have time to spend time with my partner. I'm teaching women to spend time on themselves, meditating, connected in nature, reading a book, watching a good series about, health and well-being, listen to a podcast, things like that. So if they're not making time for that, and they're not making time for connection and intimacy with the partner, there's something, again, belief conditioning is that I'm a mum now. I've sacrificed a part of myself for that child. Now, I'm not saying that's not what you're meant to do. You do make sacrifices when you're a mom. You can't just go out to the shop without putting your baby in the car and da-da-da-da. When it comes down to your sexuality, to your desires, to your happiness, to your joy, as you mentioned, you go into a yoga class 8 o'clock at night when the kids are asleep and you've got some in the house. That is you helping yourself. That is you taking care of yourself to be a better mum, to be a better wife, to be a better partner, a sister, a daughter, everything. And it comes back to that phrase, put your own oxygen mask on before helping others. That's what it's bottom line. So you've birthed, you've got 3 beautiful children, for mums in that situation, what can we tell them today to help them get back to that? Even before a child, you're a sexual, beautiful, sexy, amazing person. And this is for dads too,
Absolutely, yeah.
How can we help them to realize that, this is still a part of who you are? It's don't suppress it.
And it's linked into so many things, because we can talk about it in terms of sexuality. However, it also comes into being open to receiving an intimacy. It comes into our relationship to our bodies. It comes into our self-worth. All of these things are actually woven into the threads of our relationship to our own pleasure. And coming from experience with, say, the changes in my body, is that actually the first time I ever felt beautiful in my body was when I was 20 years old and I was pregnant. I had such a deep journey of struggle and of limiting self-worth due to a number of things in my life, majority being a very toxic and abusive biological mother. And I remember looking in the mirror. I was probably maybe hit 26 to 30 weeks pregnant, and I was like, I feel like I'm fucking beautiful for the first time ever. And that's gorgeous. However, what was interwoven into that's the light side of it. The darker side of it was that my body is only going to be honored when there's a purpose for it. Yeah. When I am creating life. That was actually the underlying trauma that was sitting there. And I know a lot of mums that don't feel gorgeous at all when they're pregnant, and I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. And then it was the journey again of then getting pregnant again and then pregnant again. And it's not, whenever I speak about the body, I'm really conscious of how we see ourselves and perceive ourselves as physical beings. It's got nothing to do with what our physical body looks like. It is completely 100% got to do with where our mind is and our relationship to our own worth and our own selves. However, when we go through massive changes, and that can also be through like massive injury, through things and stuff where we have to have a different relationship to our body, like, yes, we need to send love to that. And also we need to be part of the conversations of breaking down what a mother or post-mother's body or father or post-father's body like should fucking look like.
I know.
Like, screw that. And all sides of it, because I'll speak from a person that I'm quite fit, like I'm quite athletic, I'm healthy, and I did do a lot of things during my getting pregnant and afterwards to look after myself. I have judgments from other women, like I don't have very many stretch marks. I have judgments from other women that look at me, and it's not with kindness and with love, but how can you have 3 children? Yeah. That fucking hurts. It's like, wait, what am I supposed to look like in your eyes to be worthy of a mother's body? Yeah. Because one avenue is going to tell me that I'm not good enough at this, and one avenue is going to tell me if I'm not good enough at this. And this has been my experience over the last decade of parenting, is that no matter what you do, someone is going to have an opinion about how it's not the right thing. Whether you breastfeed, you don't. Whether you co-sleep, you don't. Whether you like go back to work, whether you don't. And so the first thing for us to realize in any biological, non-biological version of a parent is that, you know what? You're not going to fucking please everyone. Like, everyone is going to have an opinion on it. So really honing into what's important to me. What are my values? What are my core fundamental beliefs in life? And how do I get to live according to that? Because if you're living according to all these other different ideas, well, then you're going to be hitting brick walls all the time anyway. Like, whether you're getting judgments from parents or whoever it is, that's the first thing that we really need to drop into. The other thing, so if we're veering into intimacy and pleasure and honoring that, I was with a counselor when I was diagnosed with postnatal depression after my second baby. And she drew a pyramid and she said to me, here's you at the top, you looking after yourself, loving yourself. That is the most important thing ever. It has to be. You cannot show up as the mother that you want to be if you're not doing the things to look after yourself. And after that, she wrote my husband. And she said, that is one of the most triggering things that I go through with mothers who have postnatal depression, because often they're in self-sacrificing mode, and there were a number of reasons that we were in that. I did have a very unwell baby and there were things that were happening. But she said, you are the team. You are the ones that have to have each other's backs. You are the foundation for the family. Like, you focusing on giving love and time and connection to that other teammate. You know, you are co-captains running the ship, you know, your pilots together. You have to be a strong team in order to move the family forward. And under that, that's where your children are. And it was, I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh, mine is upside down. And also, like, I think there's an element of compassion in that, because it is very, very challenging to do like all the self-love practices when you are sleep deprived, when your body is, say, recovering from major surgery after you've had children, and for all of those things. So I do say give love and passion and compassion to yourselves, especially in the early stages of raising children or having children. However, when there is some gathering of energy that happens after that, and making sure you've got your support systems, being able to have connected, conscious conversations, intimacy with partner. And when I use the word intimacy, I'm not saying you have to be having penetrative sex. It's really important for us to understand that intimacy can be taking some moments without phones, without TV, after the kids are in bed, and talking about your day and holding hands and looking into each other's eyes, and like massage, and knowing each other's love languages, and sharing intimacy like that. And absolutely penetrative sex too, you know, if it becomes that. However, intimacy is so much more when we can be open to the experience of it. I've got a really good podcast episode on it.
Yes.
And, you know, I always think of the heart space as a vessel. And if you are trying to give and give and give and give, and it is an empty vessel that is sitting there, you're just going to be in a natural state of depletion. Like, filling up that heart space, whether it's from loving intimacy from a partner or a phone call with a friend or any of the care practices that we know, that's going to fill that up. So then, of course, you're going to have more time and love and energy to give to your children, to give to your partner. Like, it's actually not sustainable. Like, coming from someone that was like a decade in depression and postnatal and PTSD, and you can't sustain it. Like, you cannot sustain living in depletion and not accepting that love and appreciation from the people around you. You know, like your partner, and like the people that are close in your life. It's a gift. And I've actually said to a lot of particularly mums, fake it till you make it, babe. I said, if for now you doing self-care practices, you need to tell your mind it's for your children and not even for you right now, because we know we're dealing with maybe some trauma things or like victim things or whatever it is. Like, go out, take yourself out for lunch and just tell yourself, this is just for the kids. It's just for the kids. It's just for the kids. And then we can work on going, do you know what? It's okay that this is just for you as well. But sometimes we have to go through that cycle. You know, if you want to go out for a run or you want to do whatever, like, if you need it to be like for people that you love right now, just to be able to build up to the point of being like, you deserve that. you deserve time for yourself. You deserve pleasure. Like, pleasure is a healing modality. You're cock blocking yourself. You're cock blocking healing from the universe if you are not receiving pleasure in any way. And that can be self-pleasure. Like, I'm a big advocate for like self-pleasure as well. But it's there for you to learn more about yourself. You know, if you've gone into any space of parenting, of course there's going to be an energy depletion. We love our children, they're amazing, but often it isn't totally reciprocal because we have to give a lot more and they're dependent on us. So you're taking moments to come into pleasure practice for yourself, to intimacy with a partner. You are allowing the universe to love you. You know, you're bringing in healing. There's so many physical benefits. There's so many emotional benefits. There's so many spiritual benefits, like social benefits when it comes to intimacy with another. I'm just like, it's sitting right there and it feels good and it's free. Do it.
Well, it's
I've been single for like 2 years. Yeah. So I'm all about, like, I bring a lot of pleasure into my life.
Yeah. Well, I was separated from Chris for 18 months, so that was very much about connection to self, and I know a lot came from it. A lot came from what we did, and you know, going back to what you said about judgments and things like that, you know, one quote sticks to mind is become independent of the good opinion of others, because no matter what you do, you will be judged no matter what. And
absolutely,
the only is the opinion of yourself. And I think, you know, with Chris and I, you know, his boys are almost 12 and just turned 8. So the 12-year-old's getting very much like, oh, kissy, you know, he's in that age of, you know, where Chris and I, we show how much we love each other. You know, we just got married in Australia, and the kids were they saw how much we loved each other. They listened to our vows. They listened to how much we are in love. And it's good for them to see that example, because we are so in love, and we do the spiritual work, and they see us, and then, what are you doing, Dad? What are you doing, Pip? You know, and meditating and journaling and reading and things like that. And it's setting the example for our children, you know, our future children, because I want to have my own children one day. And I think just going back to women are just so disconnected from self, you know, growing self-awareness. You know, your self-awareness is so key, because you can start to, I always say, you're like a map. You know, your whole blueprint of you, what makes you is a map or a tapestry or a jigsaw, however you want to see it. And when you look at that map, you know, you are going to have to go to new places. You're going to have to get on a plane and travel far away to find places, and to peel back layers, and to get on a boat and go somewhere different. You know, in the tapestry, you're going to have different threads that bring, you know, them little threads make the tapestry. There's so many nuggets to your life and your plan and your path. You know, it's all got purpose. And, you know, when I do heal, you know, we will never be fully healed. You know, we will never be fully healed. But the self-awareness to it is key. And that's why I teach self-awareness, because if you can go day to day, be triggered, because you're going to get triggered multiple times.
It's impossible not to.
Yeah, like mine are quite rare now. Like they come and they go, you know, where 3, 4, 5 years ago,
around it and the release.
Yeah, they'd sit there for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Oh, 3 weeks ago, this girl texts and and you just sit with it. So if you now can have self-awareness and say, okay, I was triggered today because of XYZ. I know where this is coming from because of XYZ. You just can link.
Thank you.
Link. And you go, okay, all good. Moving on. But then if you're not self-aware, you're going to go, oh, stuck. And then you can't get out of it. So that's why people like Chow and me are helping you to go, okay, let's just peek inside. Let's get inside. Let's open it up. And some people are afraid to go deep and dive right into it, because it can be scary. It brings up fear. It's like reliving. That's why trauma is delicate. It's sacred, because it is like reliving a moment. It doesn't know what's real or what's an illusion. So you've got to be really kind of gentle with yourself, but also bringing, like you said, this, you know, self-pleasure is a healing modality. It is a healing modality. You have your own your body self-heals. Pleasure is self-healing. You know, I've had my biggest creations after an orgasm.
Same.
Honestly, like I've had courses, I've had one-to-one programs, I've had ideas come from nowhere after an orgasm. So if you aren't having at least one a day, apart from obviously then again, you can still when you're on your cycle, but let's say 5 a week. Find the time. Find the time to do it. It's the same when Buddha says, if you don't have time to meditate for 10 minutes, meditate for an hour. If you don't have 5 minutes to go and play yourself for an hour. Because it's not even about the time, it's about the connection you're making with yourself. When you do that, it's actually saying, I choose myself today. I'm choosing myself. I choose myself. And that's so powerful. And that's what you said about the kids' shower is like, do it for the kids. I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for the kids. I have to sacrifice myself for the kids. My sister's a great example. She likes to go out and socialize and with a partner, and they like going out drinking for date nights, and she didn't suppress that part of herself when she had a baby. She carries on doing that. She works her ass off, and then she goes out for drinks, on the odd weekend with a partner, and because that's what they enjoy. Me, I'm different. I like going out for a nice meal or a nice walk or watching a show or a movie or whatever it is and meditating and playing games. And so you're all so unique. And I think it's just, like you said about your values, a lot of us don't know what our values are. There's a really good book from, if any of you have watched The Shift, Wayne Dye's movie The Shift, I really recommend you watch that. The link's on my Instagram. You can just Google it on YouTube. He talks about a quantum shift, quantum change, and there's a book called The Quantum Change. Oh no, is it called Quantum Change? Yeah, Quantum Change. And he talks about values. And there's a study in the back of that book about values and how men's values are different to women's values, and how after they've had a quantum moment or a quantum shift, their values completely shift. So what I would recommend you to do if you listen to this now is go and write down what your values are. You might not even know what your values are. If I ask you now, what are your values?
A lot of people don't.
And they change. They change. What are some of your values, Shay? Show.
Love. Love. Creating impact.
Yeah.
Being open to all and every experiences, particularly ones that push my edge.
Yeah.
Like I really value discomfort in my life. Pleasure in all forms of it, not just in terms of intimacy, but finding pleasure in life.
Yeah.
Finding pleasure in the ocean, being able to almost return to that childlike wonder and finding that peace. My holistic wellness, looking at all parts of myself, is extremely important to me. I'm big now on tuning into myself constantly on what parts of that might need to get looked at, and then putting things in place to nourish it. And me as a mother, especially because of my journey, and like I've been spent 8 years without my biological mother in my life at all by choice. So mothering and being a parent is a big focus, and it's something I think about a lot, and I put a lot of my love and my time into.
Yeah.
I had a couple of things drop in when you were talking. One of them, I think, especially on this as a parent and the influence we have in our children, I love how you spoke about how your stepsons get to see the beauty of not only a relationship, but of adults that are doing work on themselves. They get to see that, right?
Yeah.
And I'll speak into, so I'm a single parent, and I'll speak into that as well, is that your children or young people around you, they get to learn what love is by the way that you love yourself and the way that you love them. And if there's a partner there, the way you love that partner and they love you back. But that's one of the greatest gifts that you can give. And it's not just children, obviously friends, family, everyone around you. But the way that you show up for yourself is what is going to be integrated, because they're watching it, they're feeling it all the time. And, in terms of being able to be outside the role of parent as well, like you mentioned your sister, like, of course, we're multifaceted humans. And one of the greatest things that we can show, like our young people, is that, we have friends, we're the role of parent, and we're the role of friend, and we're the role of sister, and we're the role of partner, and we're the role of career person, and, wellness practitioner, and sports coach, and whatever else we are, because we want them to grow up and know that all of the parts of them are welcome, right? Because if we're abandoning parts of ourselves, coming from someone that did, Like I came out of my marriage and I didn't know what music, and I take responsibility for this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what music I liked. I didn't know what hobbies like I wanted to do. I didn't know what I valued in friendships. I had disconnected from my own pleasure. Like I had abandoned parts of myself out of this notion that came from lack and trauma because of not having the mother there that was what I did deserve, and I chose not to have that in this lifetime. I really wanted them to see that, and it swung so far the other way that then I was abandoning parts of myself, and it's been years, like 5 to 7 years of finding who I am again, to returning back to that state of love, returning back to that, that sense of belonging and identity in myself. So then they get to see that. Oh, what a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
And we can give them the house and the school and the holidays and all of that. But what you're embodying is the most important thing for them. The time you can give them, the presence, the love, all of those things. That's what sets them up for life. That gives them the foundational things for life. They copy what they see. My kids come and sit down and read books with me because they see me reading books. They ask to do breathing and meditation to help calm down because they know that's what I do. And it's giving them tools for life. That's what we get to give them when we're doing it for ourselves as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I get to put my conscious parenting skills to work, and I love it. I love it, especially like when it comes to when they're upset and they want to talk, instead of just being like, oh, it's all right, sit down, like, what's wrong? You're safe to speak about it. What is it that you want to chat? If you don't want to chat, it's fine. Do you want to draw? Do you want to write anything down? It's giving them the space to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel heard. I think that maybe we could do another podcast episode on conscious parenting, because it's amazing to be able to do that, to sit and to know that they're in a safe space, because that's all they want to feel. They want to feel heard, seen, safe, and so do we.
Yeah, of course.
We're just children in adults' body, as in, you've got to be gentle with yourself. You got to be gentle with yourself. And there's so many layers to life. There's so many layers to what we talk about. There's so many layers to healing. There's so many layers to sexuality. There's so many layers to everything, and it's your path. It's your values, it's your sexuality, it's your choices. I don't ever believe you can make the wrong choice. You can make bad choices, but you can never make the wrong choice, because every choice you make leads you right down the path that you're meant to be on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's such a compassionate way, and truly the way of evolution to look at our lives, right? Is that every choice has led to something. And although it might not have looked like what we thought it was going to look like, there's been a gift in it. And like something that I'd really like to stress too, when we're speaking about the ways that people can support themselves in this awakening and self-development journey and whatever it is that you absolutely are on your individual path, and it will look so unique, and you've had your own set of experiences and everything like that. However, we're all connected. Our tapestries weave into the same places sometimes, and we often find that we're more similar than different when we can sit in safe spaces and share our stories and have that shame diluted, and we realize that although it might not be exactly the same, there are similarities that can lead us back to our humanness. And so in that, if you are struggling and you're listening to this, and you might be going through big awakenings or lessons or really challenging periods of your life, I really encourage you to find a village. Whether that is through practitioners that specialize in postnatal depression or hypnosis or energy work in the holistic space, or in, mental health spaces, I really, really encourage you to, if you feel as if you need extra support in anything, sexual trauma, intimacy, communication with partners, please seek some external support as well. Like I know for me, those have been pivotal moments in my journey, is when I have had a support from places where it's been professionals in those areas, and also the tribe, the other people around you that are also like, oh my gosh, like that's trauma work.
They want to support you as well.
And that genuinely see you, appreciate you, value you, that you don't have to be in exactly the same life stages or ages or whatever it is, but just some like-minded people around you that you feel safe enough to be just to be in. You know, we are safe spaces. I did a reel the other day, and it's like, we're all healers because we all can be safe spaces for people. But I know that, and it comes into, and actually it's all genders, but there is definitely a wounded masculine story that is still alive around hyper independence.
Yeah.
And it's so damaging. And when we speak about parenting, it can be so darn lonely.
I know.
You know, I have been so lonely so many times, in that, due to me with my trauma story, you know, with my hyper independence story, I have to do everything myself. And I hear it a lot from others. I have to do everything myself. And I'm like, have you sat down and had a conversation with your partner about this? Like, maybe they want help. Are you letting them help? And sometimes those things are happening, but it's just going, I always say to people, you can do this. You could do this alone. You could like force your way into, you know, growth and all those things, but you're not meant to. You know, sure, there's times when we come into our own oneness and we need to be okay with being alone and doing some of that work by ourselves, which is why I love self-pleasure, because it's, you get to be by yourself, but like in intercourse with the universe. And yeah, it's really important to also make sure that you've got support around you, and whether that be reaching out to us, I know that you'll be comfortable with this, but reaching out to people, finding people on the online community. You know, I'm a big advocate for technology is here, might as well use it for good purposes like this. Reaching out, finding people that have the same values and beliefs so that you can journey forward. You know, where shame isn't in those places where they talk about things like sex and mental health and stuff like that a lot of people aren't.
That's why I love interviewing people, Chow, because like I always say to everyone, if you don't resonate with me, find someone you resonate with, because we're meant to find people to resonate with. And, you know, 5 years ago, I'd be offended if someone didn't resonate with me. Oh my God, what have I done? And how can I change to make everyone like me? But I know now that not everyone is going to resonate with my story, because that's, you know, my story is unique to me and your story is unique to you, and same with everyone listening. So find people you resonate with. You know, if there's a healer out there, if there's a coach, if there's a therapist, if there's, you know, whatever you need, a group, and you think, oh, they make me feel so good, they make me feel seen, they make me feel safe and loved, good, just go with it. Just, you know, surround yourself with people you feel you can trust and you can open up to and be safe. Like, that's a definitely big trait of mine. I offer safe spaces. Like, people come here and they've opened up a whole life story and they've never been able to do it before, because I listen, I care, I love, and I don't judge. You know, I don't judge them. I just say, okay, you're here, you know, I've heard everything. Especially with hypnosis, when you know, go into different lives and you're talking to different people, there's so many different variations, and I say, you know, I've heard everything. You're not going to surprise me, you're not going to make me feel uncomfortable.
I say this to clients too. Yeah, like nothing would shock me on the table.
Not, right now.
Like, really? I'm like, yes.
Nothing does. You know, I've had people go to past lives that have been furries, giants. Like, honestly, it just, there's nothing that shocks me, and I'm here to listen. I'm here to build trust with you. I'm here to make you feel, you know, loved and seen. And it gives me so much, you know, passion and joy. And it is about reaching out to people who care and love you. You know, because we're not meant to be loved by everybody, but you're meant to love you. You know, you need to love you. That's the most important part of the journey, isn't it? You loving you is all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a natural flow that gets to come out. You know, when that heart space and that vessel is full, because we have loved on ourselves so darn much, well, then it's a natural overflow. Like, it's a natural overflow, and people feel that. You know, they can feel when you're in the presence of someone that truly, not all the time, because we still have dark days sometimes, you know, like you said before, there's no healed version of us, but you can feel the difference of being in the presence of someone that you know has chosen to lean into their self-worth, their self-belief, you know, their self-acceptance, their self-love. You can feel it, right? It feels different.
Yeah. I want to end this episode, even though I don't want it to end. I want to keep going. Hours and hours.
We'll do another one.
We'll definitely do another one, yes. I want to ask you my favorite question out of all the questions that I ask people. If you had the whole world at your attention right now, let's just stop. Everyone's got your attention. What would you say to them?
Oh, to journey back home to love. You know, that if anybody ever has ever told you that you are not deserving of acceptance, of a place of belonging, of being free in your authentic expression, it was a lie. And if anybody ever says it again, it's a lie. You are glorious. You are exactly who you're meant to be. It is our uniqueness. It is our greatest gift. So just be your badass self and keep going until you find more parts of yourself, you know, because you're always going to keep changing. But do you really want to be on your deathbed looking back and thinking, who could I have been? Who could I have been if I had just had the courage to move past those lies?
Yeah.
You know, just return to truth. We are love.
Yeah.
We just have to remember that.
Yeah. I love that. And it's mostly like the most common answer is about love. You are you are love. That's all you are. And it's a beautiful way to end an amazing episode. I've loved chatting to you today. I can't wait to get you back on, talk about more stuff with conscious parenting and other things. But I've really loved talking to you today.
Thank you so much, my love. It's an honor. Thank you, universe, for connecting us. Look at that.
And if everyone resonated with Chowie, please reach out to her. I'll put her links on my show notes of how you can contact her. And ask any questions. If you've loved this episode, please share it with your friends, give us a 5-star review, and reach out to us if you've got any topics you want us to cover, any topics you want me and Chowie to cover, any topics you want me to cover. I'll do my best to find the people to speak to them. So take care, guys, and chat to you all soon.
Lots of love. Thank you.